What's up guys? Today I'm gonna teach you how to snipe in Apex. A real sniping. Like that. There are gonna be a lot of details, it's a complex thing, you know, but I promise, after watching this guide, your hit rate with any kind of sniper rifle will skyrocket. No matter if you are beginner or intermediate player, and if you are psycho sniper, then you need to visit a doctor. Mine told me that I'm hopeless, that's why I'm making this guide. First thing first, your scope choice is everything. Overall, in Apex exists only two scopes which are very good for a long-range sniping. It's a fixed 6x scope and variable 4 to 8x scope. Scopes with lower magnifications don't have a built-in rangefinder and not allowing you to make a first precise shot at range. So instead of using a mil dots, you are using your guts and your feeling of bullet trajectory. Well, you know, that's a viable strat, but only for those gigabonkers who already can hit their shots with every single scope in a game. So if you don't wanna just scare your target, start using proper optics. What's the actual difference between these two? 6x is much easier to obtain, it's only blue rarity, spawns everywhere, and you can land on arsenal, grab a sniper, upgrade it on a spot, and you are ready to bonk some heads. On the other hand, 8x scope provides you more flexibility with zoom-in levels, but it's much harder to find and you need additionally to learn leads for a 4x zoom, because it's different. So we are starting with rangefinding. On the right side of your scope you have built-in digital rangefinder, which shows exactly what distance is to your crosshair. So it's a piece of cake to land your shot at standing target. You just aim on it, or at any object near, look at distance, and using corresponding vertical mil dot. 2 is for 200, 3 is for 300, between 2 and 3 is for 250, so you get the point. Sniping in Apex is easy, you don't even need to take to account height difference between you and your target. Here's live example, we got 280 meters to a target and I'm shooting at 300 meter mark. And I'm still hitting, even though I'm supposed to miss. That's because in Apex sniper bullet is increasing in size the longer it travels, so you don't need insane accuracy. Here is the same example but in reverse. I've put my target at the lowest point at 270 meters and aiming for 300 mark. I was supposed to overshoot target, but as you see, doink doink to a head still works like a charm. Sadly, Apex ain't a shooting gallery, so you can't do a certified boink to everyone you want. Usually these motherfuckers running and dodging like their life depends on it. Well, actually it does. To boink them, you gotta use this ancient forbidden technique called leading. Sounds fancy, right? All you need is to consider a trajectory deviation according to bullet speed and movement vector. I'm kidding. Just aim here in the middle of that line. That's the sweet spot. But the problem though, not everyone had a needed reaction to click in time. I don't. Because of my brain ping, I'm putting second mil dot slightly in front of target and shoot as soon as target crosses it. And the actual shot happens right in between them. I mean by that, I'm literally staring at the second mil dot, tracking and aligning with target with my peripheral vision. So if you are having a similar issue, now you know how to solve it. So I highly recommend you to spend some time on a shooting range and find out what way of aim is more comfortable to you. Either you aim with the middle of that line or you're trying to look more at the mil dot and lead a little with it. I'm using this technique when sniping with 8x scope. Just imagine for a second that this is not a point and this is a soccer ball which flies towards his head and he tries to headbutt it. So I don't know why and how, but if I place it at the most natural looking degree in front of it, I always hit my shots. So the idea of all of this is to quickly find a reference point on your scope and quickly place it correspondingly to your target. How exactly you're gonna do it, it's up to you. And if some of you had intrusive thoughts that leading target with sprinting with holstered weapon and unholstered may be different, no it's not. That target was running with weapon and I was using the same middle between first and second mill dots. Now if you got lucky or sold your soul to RNGesus and finally found an 8x scope, it's time to show you how to bonk with it. For 8x magnification, the sweet spot is 2.5 mill dots. And for a 4x zoom, you should aim between first and second mill dots, but just a tiny bit towards the first one. I had no idea why, but if I'm shooting in real time, aiming for the pure middle for me doesn't work for some reason. It always feels like I'm hitting target when target passes the middle, but not getting too close to the first mill dot. It's very hard to explain your inner feeling when you're shooting, but trust me, I'm trying my best. Here is the real golden advice for you. If you're just learning to lead, try to watch someone sniping as much as possible. I'm showing you that boring clip for a reason. I'm personally learned a lot just by watching someone sniping, and the way how he leads, position his scope somehow just imprints in my mind. So when I actually play the game, I'm not thinking too much of it. I just replicate what I already saw. Unfortunately, not every player gonna bless you with perfect 90-degree running angle. So the sharper the angle, the less lead you need. Sadly, I cannot give you any guidelines here, just go at shooting range, make your targets strafe from side to side and shoot at them from different angles. That's the only way. The more you train, the better you get. Alrighty, now when we are finished with the basics of bonking, it's time to get to something more interesting, to a long-range sniping. But before that, let me give you a very valuable tip. In most case scenarios, you can use that technique to instantly headshot someone. All you need is to put your crosshair at the top of enemy's head. With that, from 30 to 130 meters, that's gonna be a guaranteed headshot. So back to long-range bonking. As you remember, with 8x scope for 100 meters, we were leading 2.5 mill dots. And with bigger range, you might think that you need to lead more. And that totally makes sense, but not for Apex. In Apex, all you need to do is compensate bullet drop. That's it, literally. So as you see, now we're shooting at 300 meters and that's quite big distance and we're still hitting. In that example, we almost at 400 meters, and since our target moving diagonally, we need to lead less. As I said previously, in my head, because of a brain ping, I'm clicking when target passes second mill dot and the actual shot happens between first and second. And I got a couple clips for you from extreme range. As you see, horizontal leading hasn't changed. I'm still shooting between first and second mill, just like in previous clip. And that's the last example. I finally managed to find a big open space, and this time my target runs perpendicularly, so we're using 2.5 mils, just like in the beginning at the 100-meter range. That was impressive, huh? That knowledge just by itself deserves a big ass thumbs up. So feel free to hit that like button. I'll wait. So now you stand at the tippity top with your Bonker 9000 and suddenly witness a rare creature. A wild sniper has spawned. An enemy who actually tries to snipe you back.
What's your name? What? What is your name? Tony! Fuck you, Tony! What's your name? Ezekiel! Fuck you, Ezekiel! Fuck you!
To tame that Pokemon and force it into crawling mode, you need to carefully read its movement. And as soon as his body shifts direction, that's your cue. Immediately shoot with that leading point. If it's not a strafing maniac who's been trained in the shadows for this exact moment, you should be fine with landing a hit. A sniper duel in Apex, it's another topic to discuss. It's a cruel, merciless thing with lots of strafe spamming, head glitching, ego picking, shot baiting, and usually pointless because defeated creature crawls back to its safe place for a revive, and then it repeats again. A truly fascinating sight.
Fuck you, Ezekiel!
Alright, it's time to talk about the cursed art of sniping someone on a balloon zipline. They go straight up, they sway, they spin, and for some reason they think that they are untouchable. And they quickly change in their mind once you hit them twice in a row. and here is how to do that. Think of your vertical leading that way. It starts at the middle of your scope, and with increasing distance it goes down. So check this out. A quick reference point for you, all your numbers needs to be above the target you sniping. And one more thing I need to mention, your vertical leads never exceeds your scope markings. Or at least I've never had that situation, even though I was sniping at 300 meter range. By the way, here's the clip of that, so you can see everything with your own eyes. So the most hardest part in all of that is to land your first shot properly. After that, it's quite easy to gradually raise your scope and continue shooting. Leading point doesn't change all the way to the top. And before we continue to the 4x zoom, I'm gonna politely ask you to hit that subscribe button. I don't know why you haven't done it already, or why do I need to ask you when I'm giving out such a golden knowledge? So let's make a deal. You hit that damn button and nobody's hurt. I finally can buy some cheap food and live another day. You learn to bonk. Fair deal. Back to the 4x zoom. Surprisingly, you don't need to aim that high and most of your shots are somewhere in the middle. Which zoom level to use, it's up to you. It more depends on your sensitivity. I'm rolling on a very high sense and I'm always struggling with some minor adjustments. So I prefer to use 8x zoom at all times, even up close. And there is one more problem with the 4x zoom. Since you need to aim in the middle, you don't have much reference points, so it all comes down to your ability to visually memorize at which part of your scope you need to keep your target in order to hit. 8x zoom for this is much easier. Look, we have that tiny dot over here, and if from a 500 meters you place it just a tiny bit higher than head, you're gonna hit body or a headshot. It's very easy to memorize because you're rarely gonna get that opportunity. As for a 400 meter distance, you can hit your target by aiming somewhere at waist or hips level. So I can't express how useful that middle dot is. Honestly, I have no idea how am I supposed to show you leadings on a bare line for a 6x and 4x zooms. The only real advice I can give you is start with the middle of that line and with each shot you make, raise your scope higher until you finally hit your target. And then try to keep that point for the rest of your shots. So back to the 8x scope. For a 300 meters, align this point with your target's knee. Then you're gonna hit head or its body. And please don't tell this leading point to the Skyrim guards. They getting upset for some reason, I don't know why. At 200 meters, you need to keep your mark slightly below target's feet. Very easy to memorize, especially with these visual examples. And we left with 100 meter mark. It's easy and tricky at the same time. You need to keep your target significantly below the 500 meter mark, but the problem is, the higher you raise your scope, the less vertical points are visible, so you need to engage your visual memory quite early. And we finally get to the hot mamacita of every sniper rifle, the Kraber. Pick it up and you are not sniping anymore. You are sending a love letters to your enemy's head with a divine punishment delivery system. One click and someone throws their headset across the room. One miss and that headset might be yours. You see that 5.5 mils? Make additional half and that's gonna be your leading point for 100 and 200 meters. You keep it on the chest of your target. Shots closer to the top are the hardest. As I said previously, the higher you aim, the less leading points you see. All of that applicable for Season 25 or until developers break their sniper mechanic. And here is the 200 meters with the same leading. 200 meters for Kraber, that's the maximum that you can confidently land your shot. Anything further gonna be a pure guessing. For example, for that range, I'm clicking as soon as target passes the numbers on a rangefinder, and I'm not hitting consistently every shot. So by that point, it's not worth to make that bold move and waste your ammunition. And when it comes to horizontal leading, I would highly recommend you to not go for a headshot. I've spent way too much time on a shooting range before I would able to consistently land these shots in the head. It's much easier to land 140 if you just keep your target in between these lines. I think your actual leading point is somewhere close to your big mill dot, but I realized that because of my brain ping, I just can't find its exact location. By the way, it's so easy to overshoot on a running target, so I would suggest you to think twice. Do you really wanna go for a headshot and lose all your damage potential when you can go for a stable consistent 140 with much bigger hitbox? Or just spend a couple of days on a shooting range and get some solid mechanical skills. As for a 6x zoom, your leading point is here. For me personally, I found consistency when I'm shooting right at the moment when target crosses that big mill dot. So, as you see, unlike young bloods, ancient Pipigasaurus like me don't have any reflexes. So I rely on ancient trauma and broken muscle memory. The shot leaves my brain way before the target hits the scope. Alright, you've trained, you've led, you've bonked, forged in a training range fire, blessed by RNGesus and guided by the ghost of every missed shot. Now go, make your master proud, and may the boink be with you.